So Kay, Janet and Dave Mills are all apologies. So we're expecting...
Councillor Ramoni as well.
Oh, have we? Oh, yes, of course, yes, and Councillor Rooney. So, yeah, it's only Councillor Nagra that we're waiting on, I believe.
Okay. Is it worth waiting, or shall we just start?
I don't think it's worth waiting.
No. The reason I'm saying that is because the first item on the agenda really is in light of what's happened in the last 12 months. And I believe that there was a minute's silence at midday today that we should really reciprocate ourselves. So if everybody's happy, then I'm quite happy that we should implement a minute's silence from now if you're all in agreement. Please, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Right, shall we move on to the agenda? So, apologies.
We've received apologies from Councillor Ramuni, Councillor Gilder, Councillor Sartorial and Councillor Mills.
Right, okay, thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest? You've got 39 opportunities now to declare an interest. There's 39 applications to go through. No? No, can I take that as we don't? Okay, that's fine, thank you. Item 3 on the agenda then is the minutes of the Planning and Community Committee meeting held on the 23rd of February, which is page 5 on your agenda. Is everybody happy with those? Does anybody need to make any comments? Are we all happy?
Yes, I am.
Can I sign them off, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so next time I'm able to get to the offices, I can sign them off. Okay. So the next item is item 4 on the agenda, which is current planning applications. I'm going to go through the spreadsheet and read out the comments I've got. And then if we need to look at any of the documents, then we'll look at them as we get to them. The first one I've got is 203304, which is some land at Lysander Close. And this is what appears to be a green area which isn't too far from the Tesco store. I don't know if any of you have seen it. They're looking to build 2 3-story blocks, although the image does look as if it's sort of one block and they're putting the two together. There's some very good correspondence from Mr. Corbett and Mr. Councillor Delinsky, and is it Phil Chalice, I believe, who have pointed out the covenants and various other issues that are applicable to this particular green space. I've also got a note from Councillor Baker. He says he doesn't need to add any more than refuse, and Councillor Sohn, who apparently has applied for some TPOs on the existing trees and is currently waiting for a response. And if he feels that if it's accepted and approved, then he would like to list it. Councillor Jewell has said that the letters from Chris Corbett, Richard Delinsky and Phil Chalice say it all. We should support these and the local residents and recommend refusal. So I welcome any comments from anybody, please. Carol. Yes, Carol?
I also sent you a Word document with the reasons for refusal, just because I thought there was so many letters and so much information. So I tried to pull it all together. So I don't remember if I sent that to everybody, but I could certainly go through that if necessary. But the other thing was that I felt that we shouldn't just leave it there, that we should start pushing or urging Woking Borough Council, as a council ourselves, we should urge Woking Borough Council to designate the area as a local green space. I think hopefully we'll win this against this planning application, but it isn't going to go away. That's the very nature of planning applications like this. And I feel we should start measures to try and protect that area. And I'd like to see us, to recommend refusal. I think I've given 4 or 5 reasons why, which mirror what the residents have been saying and others, but also to try and take steps towards safeguarding that space in any way that we can.
I don't disagree with any of that. Anybody else like to say something?
Yes.
Councillor Baker.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, I would agree. I think you've got the grounds there that Carol's pulled together that we ought to use. In terms of the local green space, that should be an application for an amendment to the local plan update. The local plan update is at the moment still going through for various reasons I won't go into, and they have made a list of suggested areas that should be designated as local green space. So we should add that to it. My concern, I'm saying we should do it, my concern, just to set the right expectations, is I think it will be too small, because I do believe, but I don't quote me, that there's a minimum size for something like that. The safest way of protecting this in perpetuity is a TPO. Because if we can get that, and it's not guaranteed yet, but if we can get that, that lasts forever. And it doesn't matter what your plans are, you know, or your local plan is, it's protected. So yes, we should, I think, just a summary, I agree with Carol with all her suggestions, makes it easy for Matt. We should lodge an amendment to the local plan update to get it a local green space. But we should also put behind or get behind the TPO application. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I see David, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, thank you, Philip. I know Lysander Close quite well. It is quite a narrow road and it goes off at various junctions before coming up the end. It's a very busy road because cars have to enter and leave by the same entrance, Lysander Close. It's made up of a mixture of population. So you have a lot of maisonettes and a lot of houses. Those in the maisonettes on the top floor don't have their own gardens. So that green space is very important to them. Also, there are a lot of elderly, vulnerable people up there, and also a lot of children on the site. And this development, if it's allowed, will just increase the traffic flow up to the very top end, making it more dangerous for the residents. Also, it should be pointed out that Lysander Close is inundated with cars parked on as schools come out and open. And, you know, purely on safety grounds, this shouldn't go ahead.
Okay. Councillor Negra has got his hand up.
Yeah, I just have one question for Councillor Baker. He just said that if this place is given a status of green space, then it will be always there, it will be protected. So I just want to know, are parks are also green spaces in Woodley or not?
Okay, This is named places that have been approved for that designation. So it's not every park. It is specific parks that have been nominated. It's a bit like the Bulmush Site of Urban Landscape Value. That's a specific classification for that. So no, it's not for everything. It has to be particularly nominated. They review it against a set of criteria and then decide whether it can have that status or not. I hope that answers that for you, Councillor Nagra.
Thank you.
Can I just step in just to advise that last July we sent a list of 17 areas recommended for the local plan following a planning and community meeting. So I think the 15 areas had been previously identified and are on our website, and 2 further areas. None of them, they didn't include at that point in time Lysander Close, but I'm sure I can respond now to that in the same way to try and add that to the list.
Okay.
But if you want to know, if you want to see the list that we've already made as a recommendation to the local plan update, then they're there on our website at the moment.
Okay. Do you have the copy of the letter from Councillor Jewell?
I do, yes.
Oh, right. Okay. So so we don't need to repeat the reasons for.
No, that I can use that. That's fine. Yeah.
Are you happy with that? Is everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Okay. So our recommendation is refusal then. Thank you. Right. The next one on the list is 51 Antrim Road. This is an additional bedroom on the first floor by extending the side and rear, a new front extension for a lobby, which puts it out of character with the rest of the area because only the detached buildings appear to have done that, not the semis. There was a question, however, from one of the neighbours about the 45-degree angle from one of the rear windows, I think, with regards to looking over the neighbours. I think that was our main concern. I don't know. I think I've got a note from Carol that she agreed, and Keith wasn't sure one way or the other, but he was concerned about the objection is the 45-degree angle, and he's not sure if it's valid or not. So has anybody else got anything to say? Yes, David.
Yeah, I looked at that and I reckon that angle is closer to 60 degrees rather than 45%. But the one thing I did notice is there's an outbuilding there which shields off part of it.
Right.
So whether that acute angle would come into play, I don't know.
Okay, it's a temporary building, I guess, is it?
Well, no, from memory, I haven't got the plans in front of me, but from memory, it looked like an outbuilding or a shed or a garage.
Okay, I was going to say, because if it's a shed, it presumably is temporary, whereas if it was permanent, brick built, it would be probably considered differently. I can put
it's a bit
plans up
big
if you
for a
want to
shed.
get them. Councillor Cheng.
We always comment on this 45-degree angle. I sometimes wonder, though, doesn't that come under building regs? Wouldn't they be measuring it or not? I've never actually asked before for some reason.
I think it's 50% of one and 50% of another. I think.
Because we're in no position to measure such a thing, are we?
No, but normally speaking, you get a statement and the application that 45-degree had been taken into account. But there wasn't a statement, I don't believe, on this one.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't taken into account.
So what are we minded to do?
I've written a note that's, and I'm sorry, I read this one the other day and I can't remember what it was, but this is the one that I wrote. I think Mrs. Matthews' comment is really good, but I just can't remember what Mrs. Matthews' comment was. So I'm just going to quickly find it. If you give me just a moment. Or not? No, I'm not going to be able to find it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think I think the 45-degree angle should be picked up by the officers.
Yeah.
Anyway, shouldn't it? It will be a tick box exercise for them.
That's really what I mean. Yes.
I mean, in terms of the plan, as long as the neighbours kind of are okay and considered, it doesn't strike me as particularly scandalous.
No.
Yeah. On balance, I think it's okay, actually.
Yeah,
Just my neck out on balance.
So presumably we should approve it and just draw the planner's attention to ensure that the 45 degree is actually complied with. Are we happy with that?
Yeah.
Is everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Okay. Is that okay, Matthew?
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. Number 3 is 2 Penrose Avenue, which is an application to vary condition 2 of a planning consent. 2 semi-detached dwellings. We've seen 2 or 3 changes to this from what I can recall. And this says a minor material amendment to plot 2. The dwelling would extend slightly to the front to create 1 square metre of additional floor space. I haven't got any comments. Carol's made no comments, and Keith has just said it's okay with him. So are we happy to approve that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did,
Okay.
excuse me, can I make one comment? I
Yes.
did wonder about the building line. It kind of stuck out as you looked round the corner.
Yes, it does a little bit. But there was
It sticks out quite a lot, actually.
because we did have a few queries on this one earlier on, because we thought they were trying to squeeze too much into the space. But they seem to have got approval, and all they want to do is to make one very small amendment.
Yeah, but it's had approval. Yeah, I know. It just occurred to me. That was all.
No, okay, all right. Okay. So the next one is 5 South Lake Crescent. This is a full application for an erection of a 3-bedroom dwelling. It will require a new driveway with car parking to the front of the driveways. Carol has said it's a dissimilar design to number 5, but seems to relate well to the new houses opposite. The driveway for the new house is very close to the road junction. And Keith has commented that it's an improved application. The only question would be the driveway being close to the junction. But he's also commented that it's not a conventional junction. Apart from that, I don't think anybody's got any issues. Does anybody want to say anything about that one?
No. The only thing I've got written down, Philip, is the driveway issue.
It's the driveway. So presumably we can approve that one's just subject to highways, just checking on the driveway. Would that be a fair comment? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Item number 5. This is 144 Fairwater Drive. Part single, part 2-story side extension of existing rear dormer, changes to fenestration and internal alterations. The drawing states that the side extension will encroach upon the boundary, and the first floor bedroom extended over the ground floor extension, which is allowed for an extension to the bathroom. Carol's confirmed that she agrees with me, and Keith has said, according to the website decision, it looks as if it's already been approved.
It has, Chairman. It's been, the decision notice was sent out yesterday.
Right.
So we shouldn't waste any time on this.
Okay. Right. Okay. Item 6 then is 40 Drovers Way, 210483. Householder application for an erection of a single-story side extension to an existing dwelling following demolition of an existing side extension. This is for Wokingham Borough Council, and it's removal of an existing wooden side extension and replacement with a brick-built extension, from what I can see. But the footprint is the same, so I don't consider that to be a major issue unless anybody wants to discuss it.
No, that's fine.
We're happy with that one. Okay. Number 7 is 210494, which is 1 Fir Tree Road. This is proposed erection of 2 outbuildings to the rear of the dwelling to form a garden room and a jacuzzi room. The large garden building within the plot is 2.6 meters high towards the rear, but doesn't appear to me to be too close to other building, and the jacuzzi room is a similar height. Carol has commented that there could be an impact on the street scene. And number 16 depends on the boundary treatment to the rear of number 1. So these are the two outside buildings. Keith has commented. He says it looks okay. Disagree with the street scene comment. It's not visible from the main road, but is visible on a small cul-de-sac of the same road as the turning circle. but then he goes to say he doesn't consider the turning circle to be a street. So those are the comments I have. Is this something we want to discuss?
I just think it's great that people are building jacuzzi rooms in this day and age.
Yeah. Carol, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just to add briefly to it, I know how small those new houses are, and the the amount of garden or lack of garden that they've got, which is why I was concerned about the height of that for the jacuzzi. I suppose I think jacuzzi's all right. It's the workshop or whatever they're calling it, and that's about 7 foot high. So if that's what 2.6 meters is.
This is about 7'6", yeah.
And I just think we had one not that part of the estate, further back into Loddon Park Estate, and that was really quite overpowering, as it were, the height of it. So I was just, maybe we could just make a comment that about the boundary treatment to maybe sort of ameliorate that view for anybody, especially for number 16, who would see it quite easily from that part.
Yeah.
Okay, David?
Yes, Philip. I feel sorry for number 16 because they're going to have to look at that structure. But I think, be perfectly honest, the buildings come within the private development rights, don't they?
Possibly.
Yes. 2.6 meters.
Yes,
I think 3 meters is the limit with the roof.
I think you're right. Yes, I think you're right. And they've got quite a large, they've got an odd shaped plot there as well, so they could probably lose those two. Although I admit that the neighbours will unfortunately have to look at the back of them. Yeah. So does anybody? So should we say something? Should we say it's approved? But it would be nice if they gave some thought to what the neighbours can see, to the visual effect to the rear.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Let's do that. Can we? Right. That was. So our next one is number 8, 36 Vauxhall Drive. Single story rear extension to the dwelling, an additional roof light. I've said this is a strange shape of the plot that widens towards the rear, towards number 34. Large extension across the full width of the plot. Appears to be a large patio covering the area currently. Carol is quite happy with it. And Keith has just commented that it's an unusual configuration with next door, but it looks okay to him. So anybody want to make any comments on that one?
No.
No, we're happy with that. Okay. 210507 is item 9, 23 Stanton Close Early. This is an adjoining parish consultation, but it is right over by Early Station. I don't know whether or not you want to talk about that. As far as I can see, that it has no impact on Woodley at all. Are we happy to just have no problems with that one?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a no comment, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Item 10 is 210527 to Oban Gardens. Household application for a 2-story side and rear extension with 2 roof lights following demolition of an existing garage and conservatory to form habitable accommodation, plus a proposed front extension to form a porch. My comments were, having looked at the drawings, a very large side extension to go to the existing garage on the side and make it into an integral garage. The rear extension and an additional bedroom to the first floor. I've said this is an individual house, but may look too imposing on its neighbour, which is a bungalow with such a large extension, with the risk of overbearing. Carol's commented also she's concerned at it being overbearing because it goes right up to the boundary with the bungalow. Keith has commented that he's got no objection, but it's a huge expansion, and he agrees the impact on the next door semi-bungalow is significant, and on balance, I would refuse.
Chairman, can I just, when it says, when my comments say no objections yet, that's not no objections from me, it's that there are no objections lodged on the planning.
Oh, okay, I understand
application. That. Right. So I think that's important because if residents don't object, you could read into it that they're happy with it. No?
Yes, I agree. Yeah. But what do we think? Oh, yes, Jenny.
I think it can depend on the nature of the neighbours, mind you, how willing they are to voice their thoughts. But I actually think it's overbearing, and I would like to refuse it.
Okay. Anybody else got any comments? So are we minded to refuse it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we're minded to refuse it, Matthew, because we think it's overbearing onto the house or the bungalow next door.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. Right. Item 11, 210556 126 Antrim Road. Single story side extension, a couple of roof lights. Ground floor side extension within the boundary, not too close to the neighbour, to provide a utility room and a cloakroom with a shower bath. I've only had 2 lots of comments. Both Carol and Keith have got no objections, so I'm assuming that that's okay. Does anybody want to talk about that one, or are you happy with it?
I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Happy.
Everybody was happy? Okay, that one we're happy with then. Thanks, Matthew. Item 12, 210596, which is 40 Nightingale Road. This is a single story front extension to form a porch, single story rear extension to form habitable space with the insertion of a roof light, the erection of an outbuilding to create a workshop, WC and utility room, following demolition of a garage, plus some changes to the windows. I've said there's a new timber outbuilding running alongside the neighbouring property, separated from the house and replacing the existing garage and shed, and a small rear extension to square off the rear, and a small front porch to the entrance hall. I've had 2 comments back. Both Carol and Keith have raised no objections. Does anybody want to discuss that one, or are we happy with it?
I'm happy.
Happy, yeah.
We're happy with that one. Okay, that's fine. Item 13 is 210607, which is 12 South Lake Crescent. Single story rear extension with the insertion of some roof lights following demolition of an existing conservatory, the erection of a first floor side extension to create habitable accommodation, associated roof alterations to a porch canopy to form a hipped roof, and more changes to windows. My comments are that it's a large wraparound extension with a new guest bedroom stroke shower room and utility room on the side, and a large kitchen stroke dining room to the rear. Additional bedroom and bathroom to first floor. Only shows 2 parking spaces for a potential 5 bedrooms. Comments I've had back, Carol's commented that she's happy with the extension, although parking is an issue. And Keith has commented that he doesn't have an issue apart from the parking.
Me too. Parking, that's the only thing.
So what do you think we should do with that one? Do you think we should refuse it because of parking, Carol?
Yes, I think we should. I mean, it's something they will look at anyway, but I think if that's our concerns, we should actually tell people about it. So recommend refusal based on the insufficient parking provision.
Okay, is everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Yes, right, okay, so let's recommend refusal, please, Matthew, for parking.
Thank you.
Number 14 is 22 Rickman Close. This is a single story rear extension. Couple of roof lights, replacement of existing flat roof to pitched at the front. I've said it's a terrace house, new extension across the rear, the existing front porch to be modified to include a pitched roof in place of a flat roof. No change to the footprint at the front. Both Carol and Keith have commented that they have no objections.
Yeah.
Is everybody happy with that one?
Yes.
Yep.
Super. Number 15 is 210622, which is 34 Fitzroy Crescent. Householder application for a single story front extension to form a porch with 2 roof lights. My comment is the existing front porch to be extended the full width of the house. Others in the row have already done this, or at least in the street have already done that. The front portions of the houses in the road are all slightly different, and it will mean a slightly enlarged living room. Both Carol and Keith have commented that they have no issues with that. Is everybody else happy with that?
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 16, 210624, 22 Kingfisher Road, single story front at side and rear extension, first floor side extension to existing dwelling with some internal alterations. My comments were as a reconfiguration of the existing utility area to a new living room with additional width extension for study and shower room and with new master bedroom above. Extension to the rear for new utility area ground floor, moving to 5 bedrooms, but this is a corner plot. Carol has commented a large extension on a corner plot that adds to 2 other extensions of the property. The issues are with parking as pointed out by the inspector when the previous application on this site was refused. In order for the 2 new parking spaces to be usable, there would need to be a loss of at least 3 parking spaces on the service road. This would significantly impact parking provision for surrounding properties. Keith's comments, 1 objection reparking. It's a very large extension adding a bedroom. The comments regarding parking are taking away parking in the service road. And 2, is the parking workable? The issue about point 1 is that the hammerhead is actually a turning circle and should not be used as additional parking by anyone. It's not uncommon for yellow lines to be placed on such turning circles. The issue about point 2, which is less solid, is that whether the access is blocked by incorrect parking is not really a planning issue, but that would be debatable. And he's not sure which way he should go. So Carol's got a hand up.
Yes, I think I probably said it all in those comments, but I know the area very well. Obviously, just live around the corner and cycle past that way, walk past that way a lot. And it is very well used for parking. People access, they don't often go through their back entrances to the service road there. They come out through the front door and park where that is. The problem is that there are officially parking spaces there at the moment, whether rightly or wrongly, and they would just be, well, people parking there would obviously block any access. The house has already got a garage, a driveway, and a space next door to it. But what they're doing is adding this extra building on, it's quite a large extension on the existing extended building, and wanting more parking spaces. And I think that it's too much pressure on the parking for the neighbours, and I think it should be refused based on very similar to what the appeal Secretary of State said about the use of parking in that area, that it clearly happens, and whether or not people have a right to it, that this would cause horrendous problems for them.
Okay, Councillor Baker.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't go down on the path about the parking on the road, because that is on the turning circle, because that is actually illegal, and we shouldn't be endorsing anything that is illegal. A resident could easily lobby the council to put yellow lines in the turning circle, because the reason why the turning circle is there is people can't turn around if they go into that service road. So I think we shouldn't be using that as a rationale for refusal. Item 2, which is I'm more comfortable with, which is there isn't sufficient parking there, and it reinforcing the appeal inspector's comment. I would be comfortable if that was our rationale, because I think that's solid, that's legal, potentially legal, whereas the other one about parking in the road or parking in the turning circle isn't.
I agree.
Okay. Are you happy with that, Carol?
Yeah, I think it's virtually what I said, but just in a different way, really. So,
yeah. Okay, all right. So Matthew, it's a refusal, please, based on the inadequate amount of parking.
The sign, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. So that was number 16. So 17. Whoops. Sorry, I'm looking at my spreadsheet here. 17 is 24 Sanford Drive, which is 210625. This is the first floor side extension and a dormer. My comments are it's a master bedroom with ensuite on top of existing garage. No change to the footprint. Up to 5 bedrooms, but adequate parking off-road. Carol's comment, no concerns. Keith's comment, no, looks okay to me. So unless anybody's got anything to raise, are we happy with that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 18 is 210627, which is 22 Duffield Road. This is a part single story, part 2-story front and rear extensions to existing dwelling. The internal changes in the new rear extension to new kitchen area with first floor above with new bedroom en suite. And the first floor extension is not full width, and the front extension to pull out front of garage level to rest of house frontage. Carol's not concerned, and Keith says no increase in number of bedrooms. Looks okay to me. Are we happy with that?
Yes.
Okay. Number 19, 210628 69 Woodlands Avenue. Application for works to protected trees. 7 beech trees. They want to fell them to stumps. Wokenham has specifically asked us to review this. There are 7 trees along the rear boundary. There are some photographs as part of the application. There are 7 beech trees and then a pine tree in a row. The pine tree is not part of the TPO as far as I'm aware. And they want to replace it with bushes because they're claiming it takes too much light away. Carol's comment is that the applicant in Fawcett Crescent, trees in garden of house in Woodlands, the 2 on the right of the photo, the straight ones, should not be felled, but may be topped to reduce growth. These TPO trees are neither dangerous nor are they impacting the property. Keith's comments, we should refuse this application unless the tree officer has approved it. The rationale they are hanging over the property is not significant to outweigh the reason why these trees have a TPO on them. And his comment is to refuse.
Yeah.
Might be worth some discussion. I'm assuming you've looked at the photographs. My only concern was that there were 7 in a row, very close together, probably fighting for the same soil and the same water and the same feed. But I'm no tree expert, so Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm actually quite irritated with this because the tree, to me, this is a tree office, WBC tree officer activity. It's not down to us. It's down to them. I've got a difficulty with the tree officer over a problem in Enstone Road, and they're refusing to do anything on it. Yet here they are. They're effectively offloading a decision to us when they should be making that decision. You know, it's got a TPO. You know, if there's a TPO in it, the tree officer is the person who makes the recommendations of what can happen there, not us. You know, I really am quite angry about it. I'm fed up of WBC officers not actually doing their job.
Yes, I did actually question that this was actually down for discussion. And Matthew did some checks to confirm that Wokenham did actually want us to comment on it.
Yes, it's unusual for TPOs to go under consultation, but Wokenham came back and confirmed that the tree officer in question had specifically asked that this be consulted upon.
Let's bounce it back to them. It's their decision, not ours. Because if we make the decision, the TPO, the tree officer will turn and say, well, it's nothing to do with me. You should blame the Woodley Town Council Planning Committee. Sorry, I'm not having it.
I think if I can weigh in on this, because this TPO is actually a bugbear of mine. I'll tell you for why. And it's why, it's one of the things actually I was going to suggest as an any other business future agenda item, because that TPO is from 1953 and basically says every tree from sapling to mighty oak, native species, weed, the lot is protected in certain areas. Now, I think I couldn't work out whether that was inside the specific tree boundary or the blanket TPO, but I had a little bit of interaction and had exactly the same experience that Keith's just described. Was I said, well, what if it's a sapling? No, you need to apply to us to trim that. I said, well, can you specify what trimming entails, no anything. I was like, actually, what you've got is a really broad TPO that, because it's so broad, doesn't actually protect the important trees, because you can then acquire, you know, it just washes through, and then you've got a tree officer who clearly isn't particularly interested in being unpopular. And it, like I say, the two things combining, and I was just thinking, actually, there's some brilliant specimens of tree in Woodley, and it doesn't actually help any of them when you have these huge broad brush TPOs applied to huge areas. And then you have, whenever a development comes along, they just remove the entire TPO, like they did up in Bullmarsh to build the new, what do you call it today? Sorry, I've just got on my soapbox there, but I agree firmly with Keith's point. We should just bounce this back and say, you're the tree protection officer, do your job, but in a nicer, well, possibly not even a nicer way, but you know what I mean? But then, you know, I mean, I'm already engaged as a private citizen in questioning this one, and I wonder whether or not we should pull out in a future committee that TPO, because it is ancient, written in some bizarre legalese that is almost impossible to interpret, and say, actually, what, you know, where do we really want to be protecting trees? What are the really important things, and do we really want the palm tree in the front of somebody's kind of Essex mansion type thing to be protected? Sorry, I shouldn't say that live on YouTube, but do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
What is that TPO doing? Because I don't think it's doing what it needs to do, which is protect the really important trees and allow nonsense to be removed. In this particular one, I think those trees are quite nice. I don't really see why they should be getting removed, but you know, that's my tuppence worth. Sorry.
Chairman, can I just add to what Richard has just said?
Yes, please. Yes.
And I agree with him. The blanket TPOs usually are meant to be temporary, just to stop something, and then they do a refinement over it. But behind where I live, which obviously used to be woodland, there's a whole series of trees that go all the way from Beechwood all the way up to House Drive, between the backs of the properties in Reading Road and the properties on the other side. And that's another 1955 or something like that. And we all recently had a notification about it, just to remind us all. And about a month later, we had an update where the tree officer had refined it and removed some of the trees from the 1955 TPO. So they do have the power, they can do it. I just think they don't want to be well, no, I won't say anymore.
Yeah.
I'll get into trouble.
I think it's one of those moments where we agree, Keith.
Right. How do we respond to this then?
No.
How do we respond to this?
Refuse with a comment that we're, but we will take the tree officer's recommendation.
Okay. Okay. That seems,
Put it back
reasonable.
in their court.
Okay. All right. So you happy with that? Yes?
Yes, I've got that. Thank you.
Right. Item 20. We're nearly halfway. 210636 109 Butts Hill Road. Large rear and small side extensions to allow for a larger kitchen and breakfast room and a new utility room on the side. No concerns from the neighbour on the side of the extension. Carol's comments, no comment, and Keith's looks okay to me. Are we happy with that one? Does anybody want to make any comment? Happy?
Yeah.
Yes, we're right. Okay, so that's okay. Item 21 then, 210647, which is 32 Warmer Road. This is a single story side and rear extension. Partial conversion of the existing double garage into a habitable room. Conversion of the loft space into more habitable accommodation with a side dormer extension. And I've said this is a large bungalow conversion, a house with 6 bedrooms, one of 2 garages converted to live-in, rear extension for living accommodation, new first floor has bedrooms and bathroom. Site is large and can take additional parking. The location is adjacent to the path to the rear of the school. I don't know if you know this one. I pass it fairly regularly. But the side of that the extension is going to be built is literally alongside of the footpath, which is the back entrance to the school. So it doesn't seem to me to be any issues. Keith's comments are dormer could be an issue, but he's not overlooking anything on that side. Looks okay. Does anybody want to make any comment on that? There's plenty of parking capacity there, by the way, because they've got a very long drive from the road to the garage. So are we happy with that one?
Yes.
Oh, we are. Okay. All right. Good. So the next one is 76 Donaldson Way, which is 210660, 2-story side extension of carport. My only comments is poor quality drawings showing the side extension on 2 floors with a new master bedroom bathroom upstairs, extensions to kitchen and dining downstairs, links to a new carport and existing garage. It's a corner plot, so there's no effect on the neighbours, and the existing garage is actually joined to a neighbour's garage. Carol's no comment, and Keith's no objections. Looks okay to me. Are we happy with that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. 210688 is 1 Cops Mead. Single-story front extension, 1st floor front side extension with some dormers and some roof lights, 2-story rear extension, and a single-story rear extension and changes to fenestration again. So my comments were a new annex to rear and modifications to front to change appearance and add additional space. A new gabled extension to the rear, part existing side to move to 2-story and width extended slightly. Houses are individual in this road and the extension should not affect neighbouring properties. Carol's got no concerns and Keith says looks okay to me. Does anybody want to discuss that one or are we happy with it?
Oh, happy. I thought
happy
stark
with it.
contrast in drawing quality between the last two.
Yeah.
Yes, I think sometimes people do their own drawings to see if they'll get passed, and then they get them drawn up properly to save the expense. I don't blame them for that.
I thought it was a submission for the WBC Mayor's Art contest for under 12s.
I was going to say, surely the mayor's a better artist than that, but
Right, okay. 24 210701 16 Uppingham Drive. This is a 2-story side extension following demolition of a garage and a single-story rear extension. I've said that's a large side extension. Originally, this application was to subdivide the plot with the extension to the side by the footpath, but this was refused. So it's been quite a large change on this. Carol's got no comments now. Keith has said no. This is a resubmission of a previous application. The new plans are significantly smaller than the plans which were refused. He is trying to contact the owners of the bungalow immediately behind this property, who were severely impacted by the original plans, and at the moment it looks okay to me. So were you able to contact them, Keith?
Yes, I had a conversation with them today and they are perfectly happy with the amended plans.
Right. So are we happy to approve that one? Are we? Sorry, yes, Carol?
There was just one, and I didn't make a comment on the spreadsheet, sorry, but they're moving the boundary, the wall out. At the moment, there's I think it's a wall, the boundary, then there's a grass area next to the footpath, and they're moving the wall right next to the footpath. I wondered if that was, it's not a reason for refusal, but I always feel that having boundaries, you get this tunnel effect with footpaths with brick walls right up against it. I didn't know if anybody else was concerned as well, or whether that was okay.
Do you think it might make the footpath dangerous to walk down, do you, at night?
Well, yes, I mean, that was an issue, but as I say, I don't think it's enough to refuse it, obviously, but I just thought maybe if people had an opinion, we could look at this sort of situation another time, just to see whether or not it's having an impact on the footpath.
I suppose, I mean, we could qualify our approval, couldn't we, by just commenting that we'd like to make sure the footpath is kept sufficiently clear to prevent any potential risk at night. Is that what we're saying?
That would suit me.
Yeah,
Sounds
can we
good,
do that, Matthew? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, that seems fair comment. Right, okay, so we're on to 25 next, which is 210712, which is 194 Coleman's Moor. 3-bedroom detached dwelling with associated access and parking following demolition of a conservatory. This was previously refused by WBC as out of keeping, small footprint and very narrow for a house. Carol's comment, much bigger footprint than number 194, out of keeping with the existing property and so impact on the street scene. Keith was refused under previous application. Issues with size and parking. Design and access statement specifically addresses all of our previous objections, therefore acceptable to me. So have we got any comments to raise on that one? So it's an end plot and someone has got a bit of spare ground and they're putting a smaller house on. Yes, Carol, sorry, Jenny.
I did wonder, quite often we get applications where there seems to be people seem to own some spare ground. Turns out it belongs to the council. And I just wondered who this extra bit of land actually belonged to.
Yes.
I can potentially answer that, I think. In the appeal inspectors, the original refusal, one of the things was the original one was taking some amenity land and also didn't have enough parking. So by contracting the width, so the width of the property now is significant. I think it's 19%. If you read the design and access statement, one of our concerns was it was too big, and they've addressed it and said they've reduced it by I think it's 19% from memory. And because the width has come down, the boundaries come back in.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I believe the amenity land is been put back,
Cleaned, yes.
but they have put a parking bay an additional parking bay in that space now. Well, part of the space, because it's quite a long stretch there.
Okay.
Okay, so we're now reasonably happy with that one, are we?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So that was right. 26 is 210721, which is 45 Hawker Way. This is a first floor part 2-story side extension. And I've said to extend the side of the building to meet the rear building line and add a second floor with an additional bedroom equals 4 over the side. Parking potential issue is garage already changed to living accommodation. This is the area now being asked to be extended and built over. Carol's comments was that the third parking space is a bit contrived, but otherwise is okay. Keith's comment, he said it looks okay to me. So how are we on that one?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
We happy with that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Oops, sorry. I just pressed the wrong button. I do apologize. I've got so many icons down the bottom of this screen. 27 is 210734, 13 Renault Road. A single story part 2-story front, side and rear extension following the demolition of an existing garage plus loft conversion to create habitable accommodation and changes to fenestration. And I said it's moving to 3 stories with a loft conversion and flat roof dormers to the rear, new second floor for master bedroom. Rear extension across the back of the property, pulling the front forward, but as a semi-detached, this may look odd against the neighbouring property. Carol's comments is that yes, it's out of keeping with neighbouring properties and attached neighbour. Keith's comment found it extremely difficult to follow the documentation, and he was unsure what his view was.
I think you guys did a tremendous job, you and Carol, to be able to get through all that crap. I've never seen anything so bad. You know, I'd rather have hand drawings than what was on that application. That's just my view.
I actually gave up trying to find the front elevations in it. I
don't know where they need.
Yeah, it just, yeah. But I don't think, I mean, we can't refuse it on the basis of a crap drawing, but I think the point is, even reading the descriptions and looking at the floor plans, I just think it's out of keeping, and that was my take on it.
Well, we're lucky, Richard, because we've got 2 very good people in Philip and Carol, you see, so we can piggyback on them.
Amen, brother.
Come on, Carol, we might as well do this just between us then.
Oh, yeah, that's right, we let the others sit back. I found the front elevation. Now, maybe it wasn't, but...
I assumed I was being stupid, Carol. I bow to your...
I didn't, Richard, either, so we're both in the doghouse.
I did think it was very, it was a horrible design, and all moved over, and it was going to stand out like a sore thumb. And I think it is not in keeping with the street scene, and I just think that they could have been a bit more sensitive in the design for what they're getting. There's not a lot more they're getting to cover it. They're moving their front window forward, if you like, except it's not going to be a window. It's going to be a half window. And what they're gaining is not worth, what they're doing to the neighbourhood.
No, okay. So we think it's out of character, and
yes, I would suggest a refusal based on that.
Okay.
You must try harder.
Okay, I'm quite happy to follow that if everybody else is happy.
Delighted.
Yep.
Okay, so it's okay. Out of character. Is there anything else I'm sure there's a few other words we could think of adding to that.
Yeah, I just put out of keeping with neighbouring properties and attached neighbour.
Okay, out of character, out of keeping, doesn't follow the street scene. I think that's a fair comment. Try to get them to have another look at the front.
Yep.
That's effectively what we're trying to do. Right, so that was Renault Road. So the next one is 2833 Lismore Close. Single story front extension to form a porch, single story rear extension. I've said replace existing rear conservatory with a permanent extension, slightly deeper, replacing the front porch with a new porch deeper than previously to accommodate a cloakroom. Carol and Keith have got no particular issues. I haven't got any issues. Happy with that?
Yep.
Did my eye drop then? Sorry, was I talking about Lismore? That was garage remote to be demolished, extending the rear. Sorry, I've looked at one application and my eyes dropped down to the next item on this.
Shows what attention we were paying, Philip.
Well, I wasn't going to say that because that was
ramble on.
So I went on about 28 and I dropped into 29, which was 19 Millback Crescent, which was the rear conservatory with the permanent extension. So
I heard about moving on quickly, but
Okay,
Does that mean we've done both of them?
We've done both of them. Yeah, well, no one's had any comments. Unless someone wants to raise one of the comments on one of those two applications, I'll move on. Are we happy with those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 30 then is 23 Elmwood Close. It's a conversion of a garage and a single-story rear extension. And all I've said is replace existing conservatory with extension, which appears to be the same footprint, and the conversion of the garage to an office and a store. Both Carol and Keith have said looks okay or no comment. Are we happy with that?
Yep.
Okay. Next one is 31 210766 37 Copsmead. Single story rear extension to form an orangery following demolition of an existing conservatory and some changes to windows. And I've just a replacement of a conservatory with an extension deeper by 1.5 meters than the conservatory. Both Carol and Keith have commented that they don't have any issues with it. Does anybody want to discuss that one, or are we happy with that one?
Okay.
We're happy with that one. Sorry, I can't, because I'm looking at the spreadsheet, I can't see you guys, so I'm having to rely on you saying, no, I'm not happy with it, or yes, I am. Item 32 is 210810, which is 12 Coolbeck Drive. Single story front extension, part single story, part 2-story side extension, a single story rear extension, and alterations to the drive following demolition of an existing garage and a conservatory. This is a typical Coolbeck Drive house. So the side garage removed and replaced with a 2-story extension, proud to the front, and a full width extension to the rear. The garage will still be maintained, and the front porch extends, but less than the neighbour's front porch. So I've got comments from both Carol and Keith who said they've got no objections. Does anybody else want to talk about that one?
No.
No, it's pretty typical for those houses, isn't it?
Yeah, I used to live in Coolbeck, and this is just a typical Coolbeck extension. 33 210811 20 Burgess Close, single story rear extension following demolition of a conservatory, And all I've said is an existing conservatory replaced with an extension approximately double the depth for a new kitchen diner. So though it's double the depth, both Carol and Keith don't have a particular issue with those. Does anybody else have an issue? Does anybody else want to discuss it?
Okay
No?
with me, yeah.
Fine. Yeah.
Okay, it's all gone very quiet. Number 34 is 210813, which is 245 Loddonbridge Road. Conversion of a garage, erection of a single-story rear extension and some roof lights. And I've said the rear extension for a new kitchen dining area and a conversion of the garage to a playroom. And I've just made the comment it could affect the light to the neighbours, but that's my only comment. Goes Carol and Keith don't have any issues with that. Does anybody want to discuss that one?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay with me.
35 is 210842, which is 39 School Drive, a single-story side extension. And I've said the house is at 90 degrees to the road. So though it's on the side, effectively it's at the rear of the house, but it looks to be on the side. Again, both Carol and Keith I've had a look and have said they've got no concerns. Happy with that
nice,
one?
that one, yeah.
I'm happy, yes.
Okay. 36 is 210860, 16 Duffield Road, single-story rear extension. And I've just said there's lots of internal building works and a large rear extension, but apart from that, no issues. And Carol and Keith have also had no issues with it. So are we happy with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
37 210878, which is 20 Buckton Close, single-story rear extension. And I've said the rear extension to expand the kitchen diner, covering the full width of the plot. And again, Carol and Keith have got no issues with those. Does anybody want to discuss that? Are we happy with that?
Happy with that one.
I'm
Happy with
happy.
that one? Okay. 38 210890, 14 Tippins Lane, conversion of a garage to habitable accommodation and a single-story rear extension. And I said the garage conversion to study and utility and the rear extension to square off the rear of the building. Carol and Keith have got no issues with that one either. Is that okay with everybody else?
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm happy. Yeah.
Super. And 39 210904, 39 Woodlands Avenue, a single-story rear extension to form a conservatory. So it's just a conservatory on the rear. And Carol and Keith have got no concerns on that. Does anybody want to discuss that one?
No, I was confused. I thought that would have been a permitted development thing, but
It
very big, is
it could well be. We do get quite a few people wanting to put planning through
I
for a
suppose so.
conservatory. It's quite often the forerunner to knock it down and put something more substantial up, isn't it, as
That's
well?
true.
Right. Are we happy then? That's
Look what we've just done with all the other conservatory replacements.
right.
Uh,
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes.
can I put a vote of thanks to both yourself and Carol for all the hard work that you guys put in? I know I spent virtually all day doing it today, but I fed off both of what you did, and it's not easy. And I think we've all benefited from the work that both of you have done on this. So, thank you very, very much.
That's what we're here for.
Yep.
That's it.
Very much
Yeah.
agree. You put a lot more into that than I did.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. All right. Right. The next agenda item, if my voice will stay okay, is item 5, planning decisions, which is on page 15 of your agenda. And I think that we actually agree, or should I say, Wokingham agreed with us on everything apart from one, which was to do with Wangels. Their only concern on the Wangels one really was to do with from what I can remember, the drainage system, wasn't it? I think there was concerns about where the water was going to drain off to. I guess that's planning.
Well, I had a concern about sustainable drainage. That didn't seem to have been taken into account.
Because it was just going into a ditch, wasn't it, from what I can recall? Or the risk was it would just go into a ditch along the side of Wangels Road.
Yeah.
Can I say, Chairman, that this was taken to planning committee, and we had, Matthew had like 24 hours, I think it was, notice that it was going to the planning committee. And obviously he notified myself, and I managed to, between myself and Councillor Alison Swaddle, who is my counterpart in Coronation Borough, which is where this actually presented to the planning committee our objections. Unfortunately, we did not have the time to get a resident involved. It was just impossible. I complained at the meeting about that this was not an acceptable way of processing this. We don't know why it came to planning committee. It wasn't listed by either myself or Alison. It's not a WBC because it's an academy. We still don't know why, but anyway, I lodged a complaint with the chief executive to say you can't do this. This is undemocratic. And she launched an investigation, and the response was they dropped the ball. There were some problems with software, etc., etc., and they've put things in place to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I just wanted to bring the planning committee up to date what we've been doing behind the scenes. As I said, we had 24 hours to pull this together.
Well done, Matt.
Okay, well done. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because we didn't have any objection about the proposal. It was just what was going to happen to the water when it ran off, wasn't it? I think that was our only particular concerns. All right. Next item on the agenda, item 6, planning appeals. 123 Loddon Bridge Road, household application for the proposed erection of a boundary wall. And the appeal against refusal of planning permission, the appeal was dismissed. I can recall that was on the corner from what I can vaguely remember, wasn't it? Neighbour consultation scheme on item 7. So we just needs consultation with the neighbours. 39 Western Avenue, application for the prior approval of the erection of a single-storey rear extension, which would extend beyond the rear wall of the house by 5.97 metres, and for which the maximum height would be 3.7 and the height of the eaves 2.91. So that's neighbour consultation scheme. Agenda item 8, prior approval submission. 61 to 63 Crockenwell Road. Prior approval for the proposed conversion of the first and second floors of the office building to 4 residential units. They seem to be doing that quite a lot, don't they, in Crockenwell Road? So it's just really a question of noting that, I think.
I think it's quite good to try and get more people to live in town centres.
Yes.
You know, if the offices aren't being used,
that's right.
I'd much rather have people living there.
Okay, and then agenda item number 9, telecommunications notification. This is 210668, the land to the northeast of Vauxhall Drive. Prior approval submission for the installation of a 20-metre high monopole supporting 6 antenna and 4 transmission dishes, etc. This apparently is being linked to 203363, which is the mast that was proposed to go onto Crockenwell Road by the shopping centre. There's been a lot of adverse comment about this from the residents, which is fair enough. So,
Chairman, can I just highlight at this point that we have 3 attendees online at the moment viewing this, all of which indicated they were coming for this item specifically.
Okay.
Two of which have indicated that they would like to speak on the matter if they can.
Yes.
First is Paul Almond, and the second was Sophia Kovacs.
All right. Well, if I allow the councillors to talk first, and then we'll ask the residents to talk. Is everybody happy with that arrangement?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Councillor Negra, I think you were the first one with your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. According to my point of view, this mast is intended to be the partner of the one already approved for the Checkers car park. The applicant did not disclose this intention in his first application. The applicant has been vague about the location of this application, describing it as the land to the northeast of Vauxhall Drive, when land in question is within Vauxhall Park, which is a well-used local green space, and it is extremely close to residential houses. The mast itself is 20 meters tall, and it will dominate the local skyline. The base station enclosure is 126 square meters, about 2/3 the size of a tennis court. Infrastructure on this scale shouldn't be installed in a park. There is a brown field space to the north of the proposed location. It should be cited there. There are more than 200 comments from residents on this application. Almost none of those are in the support of this application. Councillor Shirley has suggested an alternative location on Headley Road East. This has been sent to the planning officer and to the applicant. She is waiting a response. The meeting is being asked here to merely note the application. I am proposing and requesting that we note our wholehearted disapproval of this plan. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure who was next. Okay, Councillor Jewell.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify something, having looked at some of the gone to gov.uk today to look at some of the rules and regulations about these masts, and it's from what I understand, the Borough Council aren't giving permission or not giving permission to this application. All the applicant needs to do is to ask the Borough Council if they agree that the application they put forward is within permitted development rights. In a way, the damage is already done because masts are allowed, government, to be put up to provide this 5G. So they've already got permitted development rights for these masts. Unless there's a really good reason for that not to happen. But I just wanted to clarify that really. So it's only about agreeing whether the application is within those permitted development rights. And they have got the 56 days to make those comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you. I think actually Councillor Jewell is probably right, but I think there's a moral duty on us all to raise these objections. You know, all of us, including residents, have often just rolled over in the face of these companies just running roughshod. We saw that when they cited the or got the approval for the mast in the town centre, which to me is the most negative place to put it, incorrect place. So what I would suggest, and I know we only in theory meant to be noting it because that feeds into what Councillor Jewell has said, but what I would want to do is register on the application on the website, because we can do this. There is a capability for commenting, and I know Councillor Skegg has already commented. I saw his name there, as is a lot of other councillors. What I would like to do and propose that we ask Matthew on behalf of this planning committee to register an objection, and I would suggest that we line up our objections to that of the great work that's been done by including one of the people that Matt was talking about who wants to speak later, and I apologize if I pronounce the name right, Kovacs. I think we should line our objections with theirs because they have done the work and it is a good set of objections. And just to bring those to the front, there's 5. There's the reduction of the available green space for recreation and enjoyment. Do you want me to pause, Matt?
It's fine. If I need to, I'll watch this back tomorrow to get the exact wording. I'll make notes now though.
So the second one is impact on local biodiversity and wildlife. The third is compromising the safety of park users during construction. The fourth is dominating the local skyline and nearby dwarf trees and houses. And the fifth is a negative impact on a vital local amenity for residents. I have actually been in good conversation with this person, and I praise what they are doing to try and make sure that this doesn't happen. I believe, as per what Carol was saying, Councillor Jewell, I believe we'll probably lose, but we must try. We have a moral obligation to try and stop this sort of thing happening. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr.
Right.
Chairman, on a point of personal explanation, I certainly wasn't supporting the application.
No, we know that.
Trying to
Absolutely know that, Carol.
No, that's
Absolutely.
right.
trying to inject some realism.
No, we
I
know.
happily support all of those objections that Keith raised, and especially what the good work that the objections from the residents have done. Let's give it our best shot. That's what I reckon.
Okay, Matthew, we've got a couple of residents who I think would like to say something. So can we
Yes.
please?
I think we will start, if possible, with Paul Almond. I know Kevin's on the line and he's dealing with allowing them to talk. So I think Kevin will be allowing, hopefully Paul, I can see that you're allowed to speak. So I think you're online now.
Hello there, I hope you can hear my audio.
Paul, can we hear from you, please?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear?
Can you hear? You're very, very faint,
yes.
Paul.
Oh.
Keep talking. I think you might be a bit clearer now.
Okay. Is that any better?
It's still quiet. Now I can't hear you at all.
Okay.
If you can get as close to the microphone as possible.
Sure. It
That's
should
good.
be a.
That's better.
Okay. It's a headset, so now it's sort of almost inside my mouth. But if it's working, then that's good. Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to just address the meeting. I'm a resident who lives on Vauxhall Drive in one of the houses, almost immediately adjacent to the park entrance on that road. And I'm here to represent, not necessarily because I understand that it's not a decision that the town council has much of a direct say in necessarily, nor indeed does the borough council under the rules that apply for phone mast planning. But just to represent the breadth and the depth of local residents' concerns about the mast, in particular in seeking the town council's support in terms of registering those concerns with the borough council planning office. As was already mentioned, I think Councillor Baker has sort of summed up some of the process and some of the substantive concerns that we have. So I don't really want to kind of retread those again and duplicate that. But there are now more than 230 submissions on Woking Borough Council's planning portal. Around 95% of those, I would say, conservatively, are objections to the proposal. And it's very much, I think, worth saying that these are not proposal objections coming from the sort of tin hat brigade of people with worries about conspiracies and 5G or kind of NIMBY concerns about impact on house prices or anything else. These are very much very normal planning process considerations about fit in location, impact on location, the relation to other services, and the scale and blend with the local buildings and the character of the area. And also in terms of residents' view, there is not any blanket refusal to accept the need or the case for 5G provision to be improved in the area. I think instead what we want to get across is that we're seeing this in relation to a countervailing case against it that is based upon some of the other competing policy concerns that the town council and the borough council should be concerned with, not just the economic case for improving the network, but actually those concerns about environmental impact, the maintenance of public space and amenity, exercise, mental health and well-being agendas for local communities, in particular the safety issues around the impact of access to the site, some of which will map onto and cross the path that runs currently through the site. And obviously that has longer term implications, I would think, for the health and safety work act liabilities of whoever is responsible for that park. There are concerns about inclusion and accessibility, not only in terms of the type of people who make most use of that park, particularly the elderly, people with disabilities, and people for whom otherwise accessing public space would be difficult. But I think also concerns about accessibility of the planning process itself, particularly during a lockdown. I don't believe that any residents have had any information provided to them about the presence of the plan until we saw the signs that were posted by, I think, a concerned member of the town council on the entrance to the park, but nothing has come through from Wokingham at all. And obviously within a lockdown, when people are more restricted in terms of their capacity to move around, it feels that this has been pushed through without anybody necessarily having a prior opportunity to play into that process. And the longer term impacts of that change of use of that space are the things that are particularly concerning. So this is not necessarily a kind of blanket objection to the concept of 5G or the case that's made for the benefits of 5G improvement, but I think it's a claim that there are countervailing policy issues that work in the opposite direction, and we would say that they very strongly in this case outweigh the pros with the mast as it is currently planned to be positioned.
Okay, Paul, well, thank you for that. I think most of us would probably agree with most of the things you've said there. I mean, one of our other concerns, of course, was this is paired up with another one in Crockenwell Road. And as I think Councillor Nagra has already mentioned, that when the application for that came through, we were completely unaware that there was a second mast to be erected as well. Okay, I believe there's a second person who would like to talk to us, I believe.
Yes, Sophia Kovacs indicated she may wish to speak, depending on what other people had said and what had come before. So looks like Kevin has allowed Sophia to speak. So Sophia, you can speak now.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so my name is Sophia Kovac. I'm also a resident of Vauxhall Drive. And thank you for the opportunity, and also thank you for the informed discussion. I'm very pleased that members of this committee have reviewed the details of the application and supporting us, and we are on the same view that this development installation is not appropriate in the proposed location. And as Paul has just mentioned, there's been over 230 comments, and the overwhelming majority are objections. So it's very clear that residents of Woodley feel that a line must be drawn, and taking away public green spaces is just simply should not be allowed. And here I just wanted to mention the local green spaces, the new local plan and the new local green spaces initiative that you've been talking about earlier today. And I noticed that Vauxhall Park has been nominated. In fact, it was number 4. So it's in the top 4 nomination by Woodley Town Council as a designated local green space in Woodley. And as we know, the local green spaces is a way to provide special protection against development for green areas of particular importance to local communities, in this case Woodley and residents around Vauxhall Park. I know that you haven't got the outcome of this nomination, so whether it's going to be in the Wokingham Borough Council new local plan, we don't know yet, but certainly it is an indication that we feel strongly about this small green space, and it's very well used by the community living around it. So I feel we have a common understanding about the importance of this park and the preservation of the green space and the nature and wildlife within the park. And lastly, I just wanted to make a request, and that request is to Woodley Town Council to make a formal statement supporting the majority of residents and join us in expressing your opposition to the plan. Besides the opposition or objection posted on the comment section, which I also support, and that's very helpful, and I think that will certainly well, I do hope it will help our case. I know Councillor Jewell has different views, but let's hope it's not a decided case. You may remember that last October, a similar application was submitted to Reading Borough Council, and that was for the installation of a very similar to 20-meter monopole in Sol Joel Park. And on that one, it's very similar to ours. There was opposition from residents, and early town council issued a press release that was posted on their website. It's available there now. And their letter was also submitted to Reading Council explaining the reasons why they opposed to this installation. And I feel that Woodley residents deserve no less, and I would like to ask for your support in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sorry, Chairman, just to let you know that we also, I think, now have a hand up from our other attendee, Catherine Davis.
Okay, as long as it's not just repeating what's already been said, then we're quite happy to hear that.
Okay, I think Kevin has now allowed her to speak.
Hi, thank you. So I live on Vauxhall Drive, also near the park, and I would like to thank everyone for their comments because it was much more helpful than I had expected. So thank you. But one point I would like to make, obviously the green space issue is really important, but no one has actually mentioned that the fact we've got all these houses close to us, from Concord Way, Meteor Close, Hawker Way, White Close, Messenger Road, Gemini Way, and the section of Vauxhall Drive that are all going to be subjected to these very powerful emissions from the mast because they are so close. And the people, you know, depending on people's lifestyles and their careers and their jobs, they could be in their houses up to 24 hours a day. You know, so we are going to be subjected to this very intensive radiation because we are so close. You know, my house is, I think, about 150 metres away from this proposed site. So that's all I want to say, because the green space issue is really important, and it's not physically correct to mention people's concerns about health because it's not accepted or considered to be a real thing. But people do worry about that. I worry about it desperately. It's a huge worry for me, and every day I'll be looking out my window, seeing that, and not only possibly experience it, I'll be reminded of it by looking at it out my window. So I do feel it's important to just be aware that that is an issue as well. Whether or not people choose to ignore that, it is there. It's you know, it's on the map. It's a key area, and we will be really, really close to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, thank you for your input. Okay, so would any committee members now like to come back in?
I
Keith.
couldn't say anything better.
Keith.
Yeah. Thank you, Carol, for the research, and absolutely, I know you're against this as strongly as all of us are. I think that's probably what your hand's up for. But yeah, absolutely, we're against this. However, it's a big grey area for this planning committee, the rules and regulations for these telecommunication masts. And I just wonder, and I did have a conversation with the chairman earlier, that we could benefit from getting someone from WBC to come who knows the ins and outs of the legislation, just so that we can get a better understanding of exactly what we can do and can't do. So I put it out there as a suggestion for a future meeting to get an officer in to give us almost some training on this. And the final point I make, I think in terms of the communication, I think, well, you've heard me say constantly that we ought to do more publicity on the outcome of this committee, the work it does. And I think this is a classic one that we could use as a springboard to put out a press release and comments on the social media on the assumption that Anushka, our communications officer, has got the time. But I think we ought to do that.
Seems sensible. Yes. Okay. Councillor Nagra.
Yeah, I have one question. I request Deborah to guide us. Is if any space is given status of protected green space, so what are its technical details? Can it be used for any other objective? Just like this, can any mobile mast can be there or not, or can it be used for any other purpose?
Councillor Nagra, I don't know the answer to that. It's not the council's land anyway, and I'm afraid I don't know the full regulations regarding putting up masts.
Okay.
Okay, so it sounds really as if we do need to spend some time and get someone from Wokingham to actually go through these rules and regulations with us, because this is, though these two are quite close to home, we've had 2 or 3 others, haven't we, in the last 18 months or so, most of which have actually been in places that they don't impact too much with the local residents and the local environment. But obviously these two do. The one in particular, the one we're talking about now in Vauxhall Drive, but the other one at Crookenwell Road will actually impact quite a lot on the shoppers. Carol?
Oh, sorry, I joined the elongate meeting, but this mast is on Borough Council land. I always find it difficult for Borough Council to make comments on something that they're going to benefit from. But I think what's happening aside of that is that the mast people are taking the easy way out. It's much easier to deal with a local authority piece of public land to talk about putting a mast up there than it is to try and get permission from private or commercial organisations. So that would be a really interesting one to ask the Borough Council officer about whether there's going to be a precedent to seek sites on local authority land rather than them having to go through the trials and tribulations of a commercial site.
Because stop me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that these two, I call them low for the sake of argument, though, and they're hardly low, are they, if they're 20 metres, are actually to replace one which was considerably higher elsewhere, which presumably they would then have to go through a formal planning process. So it's almost as if they've really worked out what the planning process is, and they'll try and circumnavigate it as best they can. I shouldn't probably say that, but that's the way it comes to me. So, okay, so we need to put an article together to put up onto the Wokingham site from the council committee, which is really repeating what we've said and what we've heard in terms of our objections to this particular proposal.
It doesn't need to be very big, long. You know, it can be short and sharp. In fact, press releases is less is good, or less is more, very much so.
Yes. So would you like to put something together, Matt, and then just throw it out to Carol?
Well, it'll be sorry, Deborah, if I'm stepping into your shoes, but it's really down to Anushka, well, the town clerk to organise it, but Anushka would, in essence, being the communications officer, would own that communication.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can work with Anushka to get something together.
Okay. Okay.
And it needs to be sooner rather than later. Matt, sorry to put some pressure on.
I guessed, so yeah, absolutely. I'll make it a priority.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's only half a page.
Just make sure it's a small sheet of paper. Yeah.
And not 6-point font either.
Okay. Are we happy? Yeah. Are we happy? We can close that one off.
We have. You need to be clearer. Are we happy with it? No.
No. I meant, are we happy with the resolution that we've made? Not are we
Yes.
happy with the application? Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm happy
Sorry.
with the resolution.
And are we happy to move on to the next item?
Yes, please.
Right. Item 10 then is consent for an advertisement and the Waterside Fairwater Drive for some external lights, illuminated, non-illuminated, and some hoardings, etc., etc., etc. Do we need to make any comments on that? Carol's got a hand up.
I went on site to look at this to see where the lights were, whether they might impinge on local residents. It's already been approved on the 18th of March. So,
Was it?
done and dusted.
Well, it does say we don't require consultation. So
No, but it would be nice to have the chance to look at it.
it would be, yes. So that's 2 items now we've had, because we had one.
Yes, but to be fair,
Yeah.
I think this has been, there was a changeover between Linda and Matt, and inevitably something always drops between 2 stools in that scenario. And I think from what Matt told me about something else, that's probably what happened here.
All right, so let's move on then. I am item 11, tree preservation orders. Just to note, really, there's a preservation order for Woodlands Avenue, which is the proposal to fell the stump. So this is the thing that we've already been considering. Sorry, Carol.
I'm waiting for B.
Oh, okay. And item B then is trees on the land northwest of Redford Lake, Woodley, confirmed without modification. Yes, go on, Carol.
I tried to find this to see where the trees were and what they were and what impact, etc. And there's nowhere on Rothium that tells you you can't access the TPOs in the same way that you can access planning applications, which doesn't seem right to me. I wondered if Matt would be able to find out a bit more about that TPO to see exactly what is being TPO'd. Certainly with regard to previous conversation we've had about putting TPOs willy-nilly or whatever.
The TPOs should be on the TPO map that WBC have. Was that where you were looking? And
am I looking in the wrong place? It could well be. So,
they do it all now on a mapping service, so you have to go onto the map and almost either search by location or TPO number, as opposed to a previous sort of a list or anything.
Okay.
I can definitely find some information for you on that, and I think we might have some guidance on how to use Wokingham mapping systems, which I'm more than happy to send round to councillors.
If you could do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you could circulate that, then we can see what we're doing. Okay. All right, so can we move on then to agenda item 12? This is the government consultation on the National Planning Policy Framework and National Model Design Code. This is the draft revisions to the planning policy, and we need to consider a response by the 27th of March. So are we going to make a response? Carol?
No, and I've circulated a suggestion on the response of that. So it's just whether or not people have had a chance to look at that and whether they agree.
When did that come round?
That was sent round on the 18th of March at 4:59.
Right, okay.
4:59.
I've got my emails up, so I can just go see.
Oh, sorry, Carol, I missed that. Hold on, I'm reading it now.
Oh. Okay.
It's really a repeat of what I came up with last time, but everybody wanted a chance to have a look at it, which is why I produced it last week.
Uh,
I need to blush.
That's good, Carol. I can wholeheartedly support that.
18th of March, 4:59, 16:59. Was it 4:59 in the morning?
It was PM, I can confirm.
I can
I
put
don't-
that on the screen if I'm allowed to share, if that helps.
I don't seem to have it.
Yeah,
I don't.
let's-
You should be able to share the screen.
Yeah, I can't find it.
It was sent on the same distribution list that you would have received the agenda earlier on that afternoon.
I don't.
roughly at the same
Yeah.
I
time.
don't. No,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't-
like 3 emails from Matt in quick succession, and that's the
Oh,
last
it's
one.
from that, was
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
I was
Matt,
looking at Carol.
Sorry, I'm being presumptuous calling you Matt there.
yeah. Matt,
No, that's
sorry, I'm just looking at the email at the moment. It's one that I missed, but I noticed it's come up. It just says P&C meeting 23rd of March.
Agenda item 12.
Maybe on future emails,
Oh,
you could just sort of highlight what it relates to.
Absolutely. I put on there the subject I put was P&C meeting 23rd of March 2021, agenda item 12. But I can happily add on to that. Oh, it's probably too long for your subject.
Too long, yeah.
What I'm happy to do is in future I'll make sure that I make it clear at the beginning of the subject that it's additional information to the meeting, just so that it's clear for you to see.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I have found it now, but I was looking for something from Carol when you mentioned
yes,
that.
I was too.
Yeah.
It just got lost with some of the other things. I apologize. I've had a quick look. So do we think we should just put a response together just with those few comments?
Yeah, good.
Yes, are we happy?
Nothing scary
Yes.
and controversial in there. It's just
No.
common sense. Preserve, consider. It's good.
Okay,
Much better than I would have done.
so the proposal is then just to respond to that with those few comments. I think if everybody's in agreement with that. Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And if we can do that, please, because you've only got till the weekend, I think, to do that. Okay. Right. If we move on then to agenda item 13, which is the Ruscombe Neighbourhood Plan consultation. Do we need a response to that, or do we just note that we've had it? We don't normally respond to this type of document. No. So no comment. Okay. Item agenda 14, Central and Eastern Berkshire Authorities Joint Minerals and Waste Plan. Again, is it just something we're going to note that we've actually had? Do we need to make any more comments on it than that? No? Okay, so we're happy with that. Agenda item 15, Woking and Borough Council Active Travel Fund, your views on new cycling facilities. This is page 19 of your agenda. Have we got some comments on this?
I mean, I've had a look at it. I mean, obviously, yeah, I looked at the Woodley to Reading actual travel route. I think there were 2 options. Do you want the cycle path to go via Culver Lane or Anderson Avenue, if I remember rightly?
Yes, that's correct.
I've got a personal preference, but I don't think it's a town council preference. So I will make a personal comment just to say I prefer option such and such. But I mean, they're both not quite great, but they're better than we've got. So I'll take it.
Very gracious of you, Richard.
Every journey starts with a small step, Keith.
Usually backwards in my case.
yeah, relate to that.
So And then Carol does a bit of cycling. Have you got any preference, Carol?
I've already commented some weeks ago because I had a pre-consultation with WSP on the suggested route from Woodley to Reading, and that's when I brought up the suggestion of the Anderson Avenue one, which is the one I use, because to be honest, Culver Lane is a bit of a nightmare with the buses, the parked cars. I don't like the speed humps because I fly off the saddle as I go down. Not that I'm going too fast, but no. So I do prefer to go down Anderson Avenue. So I've already commented on that. And what I was really pleased that there was a pre-consultation, so that we've got some good options to talk about there.
Okay, Richard, what was your preference?
Mine was Anderson Avenue as well, actually, because I think it's just Church Road is so just dangerous, full stop, and just to have anything on there to at least carry you some of the way down is just a big bonus, really. But then I had a moment where I thought, oh, but the Bullmarsh kids, quite a lot of them come from Culver Lane end, and should I be caring about the children more? And I don't know. So that's why I decided it was a personal comment from me rather than a council comment, if that makes sense. I thought I can reflect my needs.
It's far better for people who cycle to make comments on this than people who don't. Because if you don't cycle, you don't always see the problems.
Yeah.
David, you've got your hand up.
Philip, yeah. I haven't got the information immediately to hand, but Carol might be able to find it quicker than myself. I believe Councillor Heap did some work during the early part of lockdown last year, when cycle lanes, when Reading were just starting to change roads to cycle lanes. I seem to remember an email from him highlighting particularly the Culver Lane situation. And you might be able to get that information from him.
If I can give some information on that. This was because Reading had got their act together much quicker than Wokingham, and so they were doing their local cycling and walking infrastructure plan, and Alex and I looked at that originally some months ago now, and in fact I've spoken to him about this when the Wokingham Active Travel Fund came up. He agreed totally with me and others that Culver Lane is a no-no, and he was, because he cycled into Reading, or used to before lockdown, and he was totally in favour of Anderson Avenue, with maybe improved crossing from the Highwood side of Church Road over to Anderson Avenue. But there's already room on the pavement to, I think it's kind of an unofficial shared pavement along Church Road from Woodlands Avenue to Anderson Avenue. And then it's a quiet cul-de-sac, which takes you down to connect with Palmer Park and onto the canal or to TVP, etc. So, yeah, he was in favour of it.
Right.
Okay. So, if we're going to consider a response, it would appear that the one that we're particularly interested in is the Woodley to Reading one, and their recommendation, if we have a choice, would be to go to Anderson Avenue, because the majority of the cyclists here would prefer that particular route. So I would guess if we can just draft a response on that.
Excuse me.
Issue.
Sorry,
Everybody
Feel
happy with
guilty,
that?
but yeah.
Everybody's happy with that? Okay.
So can I just check? So are we drafting a response in preference for Anderson Avenue?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Matt, I can give you more information if you need it, if you contact me tomorrow.
I will do. That's great. Thank you so much, Councillor Jewell.
Thanks, Carol.
Chairman, can I just ask
Yes.
a question? These two last items really should have, well, the Cycling Working Party would have been ideal to deal with these stuff and make recommendations to us to approve. The Cycling Working Party is in abeyance at the moment because there is no nomination from the Liberal Democrats on that. And clearly we need that mixture. So that happened many months ago now. I just wonder, Councillor Jewell, as leader of the Lib Dems, have you made any progress about nominating a Liberal Democrat to fill that space? Because I would like to get that Cycling Working Party back up and running. I think it was set up all for the right reasons, and I think they could have helped tremendously on these two. But until we have your nomination onto that, I don't think it's right and proper to have a single party working party. So you don't have to answer now.
I'm happy to answer if you want me to.
Yes, please.
I don't think the absence of a nomination actually prevents that committee from meeting, that working party from meeting. Maybe Deborah could advise, but you can just go ahead with the working party, and if and when we decide to attend, then we'll let you know.
Well, I'm sorry, that's that, you know, as an experienced councillor, that is not the way it works. It needs cross-party support. The rules allow that. You have decided, clearly you're continuing that decision, not to take part. So it won't meet because it's not properly constituted. And you can't just drift in and out. I'm sorry, Councillor Jewell. But I've asked the question and you've answered it. I'll probably ask it again in 6 months' time. Thank you.
But I did ask the question. I don't know if Deborah has any advice on whether the working party can meet. I'm certainly not proposing to drift in and drift out.
Okay.
My recollection is that there are 4 places on that working party. Would I be right in thinking that?
Yeah.
And so it's just one place that was for the Lib Dems that hasn't been filled.
Yeah.
So the 3 people could actually meet.
Yeah.
Councillor Baker.
Except, Town Clerk, that would be classified as being undemocratic. That comment has been thrown around by several councillors over the recent months that this party, my party, has been acting undemocratically. I won't allow my group to be put into that situation again, just because I don't understand why the opposition don't want to participate. But I've asked the question. I don't want to go down the politics because this is the wrong committee for that. I know I've got the answer. Thank you, Carol. And I would suggest we move on.
Okay. All right. So
sorry,
sorry, Richard.
I was really quite enjoying this meeting till that little moment, and I think Carol's been very reserved. Well, you all know why that committee's not functioning. It's because we all had a huge unproductive argument at a full council meeting, which has been counterproductive for everything. And I'm sorry, Councillor Baker, but that bringing that up in that manner, I think, again, it's just stirred up the ill feeling that we all had to start with. I don't really understand what the value of doing that was. So I'm sorry, we all know what the issue with that working party is and why it's not currently running. And I was kind of hoping that we'd got past that and we were starting to function better. But I'm sorry, I don't understand why you felt the need to do that. And now I've finished this meeting, having been, feeling like we were really functioning and working well, to just kind of resenting that whole episode of petty party politics and not having the right people in the committees. And I'm sorry, I'm just not, I just had to say my piece. I'm sorry about that, but I'm really very disappointed and properly miffed that we're back to this nonsense again. And I'm just really upset, and I'm sorry to everyone, but that's just nonsense. And, move on.
Okay, so if we move then on to item 16, which is the local cycling and walking infrastructure plan on appendix 16, page 21 of your agenda. And we've got till the 18th of April to consider a response. When's the next meeting, Matthew?
The next meeting's on the 20th of April.
Right.
Can I just give a bit of context around this? Because I had a quick look at the, it is a map of the area that allows individual comments to be put onto locations pinpointed on the map by individuals, and then anyone else can go onto that map, see what's been commented on, and either click to kind of agree or disagree with those comments. So that's the way it appears this consultation works, and it's the entire area that allows for that.
So it's very much an individual.
It's quite open-ended because it's the entire area. It's not a specific location. So any point in the entirety of Woodley could be pinpointed, and any comment could be made about that location in terms of any sense of feeling towards any local cycling or walking infrastructure issues at that specific location.
Okay, thank you. Carol?
Yeah, you won't be surprised to hear I've already done that. But it's very good, actually, because the map, as a cyclist and a walker, it was just a matter of moving over the map and thinking, yeah, there is a problem there. And you didn't feel restricted in any way. You could just make your comments, and that was on. And people have replied to those comments or added to the comments as well. So I really would say have a look at it, because it's a really worthwhile exercise. And it's almost it is a pre-consultation to the LC whip. And we need as much information on that as possible. So please have a look.
So you think this would be sensible to encourage all councillors to actually look at this and make their comments?
In fact, I'd like to see it on the website to say people have a look, because now's your chance. It's very rare that we get this sort of pre-consultation, and WSP are doing a good job with this one, and we should look at it, support it, and have a shout.
Okay, well that seems. Are we happy with that? I think that seems a sensible approach. And then we treat this more as an individual rather than as a committee, because we haven't got enough time. If the next committee meeting's beyond the closure date, then so we probably need to circulate something to all the councillors just to get them to do their own individual notes on the proposals to see what they would personally like to see. Okay, is that reasonable? Yes.
Yep.
Okay, fine, good. Let's move on to item 17, which is the annual grants. Just to confirm that we had thanks from ARC, Link Visiting, Citizens Advice, and Redibus. These are the grants that have been issued in the last couple of months. Item 18, excuse me, is future agenda items. So I think we've raised one comment, which Councillor Baker did to try to suggest that we get someone from Wokenham to discuss masts. So maybe we should put that on, and to make sure we don't overlook it. I don't know how easy that will be. Whether they'll come along to one of these meetings, or whether we'll have to set up something specific. I would think it's possibly something specific. Would you think, Keith?
No, I think it's, we all have enough meetings in our lives. I think it would be appropriate to be at one of these planning meetings.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Okay. Anything else that anybody would like to be put onto the agenda? No. All right. Agenda item 19 then. Items to be put onto the publicity website. We've already discussed the mast scenario, and now we've just added a comment with regards to cycling and walking, and Councillor Nagra's got his hand up.
Yeah, I have two questions. Deborah, if you can kindly guide, what steps are being taken or already taken to stop misuse of Woodley Town Council logo? And second one, is Woodley Town Council logo covered and protected according to the UK copyright law?
Where's this meeting?
Councillor Nagra, I can tell you that it is copyrighted, and I will be writing to leaders of the 3 different groups to let them know when they can't use the logo.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got those 2 items then to go onto the website eventually. One is the DMAST scenario and our response, and the other one is the local cycling and walking infrastructure plan. So we need to get that out as soon as we can. Is there anything else that we need to consider? No? Okay. Okay, we move on to agenda item 20, enforcement notices, which should be on pages 22 and 23 of your agenda. 23 should note enforcement notices raised. Item 1 is the land to the rear of 7 to 10 Brecon Road. People working out of hours and windows not on the plan. And the second one is 6 Cody Close, extending the gardens by about 3 meters into the nature reserve. It's a bit naughty. So those are being actioned. And then on page 23, appendix 20B, enforcement closures. Sandford Mill, an unauthorized COU land and engineering operation. Sorry, COU? I'm not familiar with the term. Okay.
Conditions of use.
Ah, conditions of use, right.
Sorry, it's the way it comes through on the report from Woking Borough Council.
Right, okay, so they're obviously using it for a business, presumably, because they talk about an engineering operation. So, and there's application submitted. 10 Rosewood, a breach of condition 2 with 2 front doors. Okay, we'll have to look out for that one. What's behind them? Third one is Pitts Works, Colemansmore Road, unlawful activities associated with residential development, no breach. I don't know what those unlawful activities are. Loddon Park, Perimeter Road, compliance with approved plan set, no breach. 40 Weebill Drive, unauthorized erection of an outbuilding, no breach. Loddon Park again, installation of pavements, no breach. And 7 Cody Close, extending garden by 3 meters into Aldermore's Nature Reserve, no breach. That's not a breach, and yet it's interesting that number 6 in the previous item appears to be doing the same thing. I assume they're adjoining each other and not opposite. So we'll have to see what happens to that.
Can I, Chairman, can I give you an update on the first one of the enforcement notifications?
Yes, please.
Since I've been involved in that one. The out of hours work, the developers have already been requested to stop doing it, and the resident who complained has been asked to monitor it. The windows not on plan is correct. The windows were not on the plan. They are indeed for bathrooms, and there is a planning application, or non-material change planning application, they call it, to change the plan to put the windows in with obscure glass. A non-material change of planning basically means you don't consult on it. It's a trivial thing. So we'll see that moving over to the other one in future. And I too picked up the 6 and 7. I wonder if it's a typo. Not by you, Matt, but you know, if you could ask the question, because it does seem odd that, and I do believe they're in sequence, the house numbers in Cody Close. But if you could just cross-check, Matt.
Yeah, I will absolutely check that for you. I copy and paste it across from the what comes across, so I will definitely check that for you.
Yeah, because they've spelled Cody CODE as well, haven't they, on number 7?
Yeah.
So. Okay, has anybody got anything to add on those enforcement notices, or have we arrived at the end?
Hey.
Yeah.
Right, thank you everybody. I think we've got through the agenda, and I consider the meeting closed. Thank you all.
Thank you, Philip. Thanks, everyone.
And
Night,
thank you.
everyone.